The year was 4912. Peace had lasted for 117 years. That alone was a miracle. The old empires still existed, the Zarati, the Drael, the Zifferans, but none of them ruled anymore. Not really. After the treaty with humanity, power had shifted, not loudly, not violently, but permanently. At the center of this new galaxy stood the Terran coalition, not as conquerors, but as something far more unsettling. Observers, builders, and, if necessary, executioners. Commander Leth Orvik of the Zarati Navy stood aboard the observation platform of Outpost Helios 9, staring into deep space. He hated silence. Not the normal kind, the quiet hum of engines, the distant whisper of stars. That was fine. No, this was different. This silence felt like something was missing. "Commander," said a soft voice behind him. He turned. It was Analyst Rhea Salin, a human. Of course it was. Humans were everywhere now. Advisors, scientists, diplomats. Always calm. Always watching. "What is it?" Orvik asked. Rhea stepped forward and activated a holographic display. A section of space appeared, empty at first glance. "This region," she said, "Sector V88. A minor trade corridor. 12 inhabited systems." Orvik nodded. "Yes. Quiet area. No strategic value." Rhea looked at him. "Not anymore." The stars in the hologram blinked out. One by one. 12 systems. Gone. Orvik felt his throat tighten. "That's not possible," he said immediately. "Agreed," Rhea replied calmly. "When did this happen?" "We don't know." That made him turn sharply. "You don't know?" "We only know when we noticed," she corrected. 3 hours ago." 3 hours, he stopped. His mind caught up. Light delay. Those systems were over 200 light years away. Which meant, "This happened 200 years ago," he whispered. Rhea nodded. And no one noticed. The room felt smaller. Orvik had seen war. He had seen planets burn. But this? Entire systems erased, without a trace, and no one even realized? "That's impossible," he repeated, weaker this time. Rhea tapped the display again. A signal waveform appeared. Distorted. Broken. Ugly. "We received this from the edge of the region," she said. "It's the only thing left." "Is it a distress call?" "We don't think so." "Then what is it?" Rhea hesitated. That alone made Orvik uneasy. "Say it," he demanded. She met his eyes. "It's a greeting." Orvik stared at her. A greeting from what? Rhea didn't answer immediately. Instead, she expanded the waveform. Patterns appeared. Repeating structures. Mathematics. Language. But wrong. "It took our best AI 17 minutes to translate the first layer," she said. And Rhea's voice dropped slightly. "It wasn't designed for us." A cold feeling crept into Orvik's chest. "What do you mean?" "It's not using galactic standard logic," she explained. "Not even human logic." She paused. "It's using something older." "Older than what?" Orvik snapped. Rhea looked back at the stars. "Older than every known civilization in this galaxy." Silence. Heavy. Uncomfortable. Orvik forced a laugh. "That's not possible. The oldest records go back." "Not far enough," she cut in quietly. The lights flickered. Both of them looked up. "Power fluctuation?" Orvik asked. "No," Rhea said. Her eyes were on the hologram. The signal was changing. New patterns emerged. Faster. Sharper. More aware. Orvik felt it before he understood it. The signal wasn't just being analyzed anymore. It was analyzing them. "Shut it down," he said immediately. Rhea didn't move. Rhea. Too late. The hologram glitched. Then stabilized. But it wasn't showing the signal anymore. It was showing them. A perfect 3D scan of the room. Of Orvik. Of Rhea. Every detail. Every movement. Real time. Orvik stepped back. "That's not possible." Rhea whispered something in a language he didn't recognize. Human. Old human. Fear. Then the display changed again. Words appeared. Not translated. Not processed. Just understood. Directly. Inside their minds. "We see you." Orvik's heart slammed against his chest. "Cut the connection," he shouted. Rhea finally moved, her hands flying across the console. But nothing responded. The system was no longer theirs. The message continued. Slow. Deliberate. "You are not the first." Orvik couldn't breathe. "What does that mean?" he whispered. Rhea's face had gone pale. For the first time since he had known her. The human looked afraid. "You will not be the last." The lights died. Total darkness. When they came back, the hologram was gone. The signal was gone. And Sector V-88 was still empty. 3 hours later, an emergency summit was called. Not just the old empires. Not just the council. For the first time in over a century, humanity called a full war assembly. And that's when the galaxy realized something terrifying. Not that humans were afraid, but that they had been expecting this. The emergency summit was held in a place no one had used in over a century. Citadel Prime. A massive artificial world built long before the peace. Designed for war coordination between empires that no longer trusted each other. Now, for the first time in 117 years, it was active again. Ships arrived from every corner of known space. Zarati war carriers, Drael intelligence vessels, Zifferin diplomatic cruisers, even smaller species, ones that had never been invited to something like this before, were called. Because whatever had erased 12 star systems was not a local problem. Commander Leth Orvik stood inside the central chamber, surrounded by beings he once would have called enemies. Now they all shared the same expression. Fear. At the far end of the chamber stood a group of humans. Not soldiers. Not politicians. Something else. They wore black uniforms with no insignia. No rank. No visible authority. And yet, everyone knew they were in charge. Those are not standard coalition officers, Orvik muttered. A nearby Drael leaned closer. We have no records of them. That's impossible. Not for humans, the Drael whispered. A low hum filled the chamber. The doors sealed. Lights dimmed. And one of the humans stepped forward. A woman, older than most. Her hair streaked with gray, her expression calm. Too calm. My name is Director Alara Vance, she said. Her voice carried without amplification. On behalf of the Terran Coalition, I regret that we are meeting under these circumstances. Orvik frowned. Regret? That wasn't the word he expected. A Zifferin representative floated forward, its voice trembling. 12 systems have been erased. We received a signal that. We know, Alara said. Simple. Flat. Certain. The chamber went silent. Orvik felt his stomach drop. You know, he repeated. Alara looked directly at him. Yes, Commander Orvik. We know exactly what you encountered. A ripple of shock spread through the room. The Drael slammed a long, thin hand against the table. Then explain it, he demanded. What weapon can erase stars without energy signatures? What species can? It's not a species, Alara interrupted. Silence. Heavy. Unnatural. Then what is it? Orvik asked quietly. Alara paused. For the first time, she seemed to choose her words carefully. It's a remnant, she said. The word meant nothing. And everything. A remnant of what? Someone asked. Alara exhaled slowly. Of something that existed in this galaxy before all of us. Murmurs spread across the chamber. Ancient civilizations were not new. Ruins had been found before. Artifacts. Dead worlds. But this was different. Ruins didn't erase star systems. That is not possible, said a Zarati elder. We have mapped the galaxy. There are no records of. Because it removes records, Alara said. That shut him up. Orvik stepped forward. You're saying this thing has been here the entire time? No, Alara replied. It was dormant. The word echoed in the chamber. Dormant. As in, sleeping. And now it's awake? Orvik asked. Alara met his gaze. Yes. A chill ran through him. Then why now? Asked the Drael. Why after millions of years would it suddenly? It didn't suddenly wake up, Alara said. You woke it up. The chamber erupted. That's absurd. We've done nothing. We don't even know what it is. Alara didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. You expanded, she said simply. Slowly, the noise died down. Every civilization in this room, she continued, has been spreading across the galaxy. Colonizing. Mining. Terraforming. She tapped the holographic display. A map appeared. Expansion routes. Trade lanes. Energy networks. All of them converging. Toward one region. Sector V-88. Orvik's eyes widened. No. Alara nodded. You didn't know it was there, she said. But you were getting close. Close to what? Someone whispered. Alara zoomed the map further. Deeper. Beyond known space. Into regions no one had explored. There are structures out there, she said. Not planets. Not stations. She hesitated. Then said it. Systems. Built systems. No one spoke. Entire star systems, she continued. Designed. Arranged. Engineered. By who? Orvik asked. Alara's answer came quietly. We don't know. That was worse than any answer. But we know what they left behind, she added. And we know what it does. The hologram shifted again, this time showing something moving. Not a ship, not a fleet, a distortion, a ripple in space itself. When it detects expansion beyond a certain threshold, Alara said, it responds. How? Asked the Zifrin. Alara looked at them all. Her voice dropped to almost a whisper. It cleans. The word hit harder than any explosion. Orvik felt his pulse in his ears. You're saying those 12 systems were removed, Alara said. Like an infection. Silence. Absolute. Why didn't you tell us? Orvik demanded suddenly. His voice echoed, anger breaking through the fear. You knew about this. You knew there was something in this galaxy that could wipe out entire civilizations, and you said nothing. Every eye turned to Alara. For the first time, she didn't look calm. She looked tired. We tried, she said quietly. No one spoke. 73 years ago, she continued, we detected the first signs. Small anomalies. Disappearances at the edge of deep space. We investigated. We lost ships. Orvik's anger faded slightly, replaced by something else. You never reported it, he said. Alara shook her head. Because we thought we could contain it. A long pause. And can you? Orvik asked. Alara didn't answer immediately. Instead, she turned to the other humans in black. One of them stepped forward and activated a new display. A list appeared. Long. Too long. Designation. Containment fleets, the human said. Status. He hesitated. Then finished. Destroyed. A cold wave passed through the chamber. How many? Orvik whispered. Alara answered. 27. Even the oldest warlords in the room went still. 27 fleets, the Drail said in disbelief. That's more than some empires even have. Alara nodded. We threw everything we had at it. And? Orvik asked, though he already knew. It adapted. Silence. Then Alara said the words that changed everything. We don't know how to stop it. For the first time in over a century, the galaxy understood something truly terrifying. Not that humans were the strongest, but that even they had found something they couldn't defeat, and it was already here. No one slept after the summit. They couldn't, because less than 6 hours after Director Alara Vance finished speaking, another system went dark. System, Archeron 5. Population, 3.2 billion. Defense fleet, 11 warships. Status, gone. This time, there was no delay. Number 200-year gap. No ancient light lag. They watched it happen, almost in real time. Commander Leth Orvik stood in the tactical chamber of Citadel Prime, staring at the live feed. Stars flickered. Planets dimmed. And then, nothing. No explosion. No radiation spike. No debris. Just absence. It's accelerating, someone whispered. Alara Vance stood at the center of the room, her hands clasped behind her back. Not accelerating, she said quietly. It's responding. To what? Orvik snapped. Alara turned to him. To us noticing it. That hit harder than it should have. A young Zifrin analyst floated forward, trembling. We are detecting the anomaly again. It's moving. Trajectory? Alara asked. The analyst hesitated. Then, toward the nearest populated cluster. A cluster of 47 systems. The room erupted. We have to evacuate. We don't have time. Then we fight. Orvik looked at Alara. This is where your containment happens, right? He said sharply. You said you tried before. Alara nodded once. Yes. Then we try again, Orvik said. A long pause. Then, slowly, Alara gave the order. Deploy the Aegis line. The room went still. Even the humans reacted. One of the black uniformed officers stepped forward. Director, all remaining Aegis assets? Alara didn't hesitate. All of them. Orvik frowned. What is the Aegis line? No one answered him. Instead, the main display shifted. Coordinates appeared. Dozens. Hundreds. Then a ships. They didn't look like normal human vessels. No sleek designs. No visible weapons. These ships were massive. Blocky. Layered with strange geometric plating. They're not warships, Orvik said. Alara shook her head. No. The first ship arrived at the edge of the threatened cluster. Then another. Then another. Within minutes, 50 enormous human vessels formed a line in deep space. A wall. They're forming a barrier, Orvik realized. Alara nodded. Aegis-class containment platforms. Containment, Orvik repeated. You're going to trap it? No, Alara said. She looked at the approaching distortion. We're going to slow it down. That's when Orvik understood. You don't think you can stop it, he said. Alara didn't respond. The distortion appeared on sensors seconds later. Even through the filtered display, it was wrong. Space didn't bend around it. It forgot how to exist. Stars near it dimmed, not because of distance, but because they were being erased from the equation. By the void, someone whispered. The Aegis ships activated. A massive energy grid formed between them. Not a shield, not a weapon, something else. Reality itself seemed to harden. The distortion hit the barrier. For a moment, it stopped. The entire chamber held its breath. It's working, Orvik whispered. Then the barrier screamed. Not audibly, not physically, but every sensor, every system, every mind in the room felt it. The distortion pushed back. The grid fractured. Aegis ship 12 flickered and vanished. No explosion, no debris, just gone. Hold the line, Alara ordered. More ships poured energy into the barrier. Another ship disappeared. Then another. Power levels are dropping. Containment integrity at 63%. 52%. Orvik gripped the console. This isn't going to hold, he said. Alara's jaw tightened. I know. Then why are we doing this? She turned to him, and for the first time, there was steel in her voice. Because we need to see it. Orvik froze. What? We've never had this much data, she said. Every encounter before ended too quickly. Another Aegis ship vanished. We need to understand how it moves, how it chooses targets, what triggers it. You're sacrificing entire fleets for data? Orvik snapped. Alara didn't flinch. I'm sacrificing fleets, she said. So the next time, we don't lose worlds. The barrier collapsed. Instantly, the remaining Aegis ships tried to disengage. But it was too late. One by one, they were erased. 50 ships. Gone. The distortion continued forward. Unharmed. Unchanged. Silence filled the chamber. Orvik felt something inside him break. That was your best defense, he said quietly. Alara nodded. Yes. And it did nothing. Another pause. Then Alara said something that made the room feel even colder. It did exactly what it was supposed to do. Orvik stared at her. What? She turned back to the display. We slowed it down by 3.7 seconds. Silence. 3. Orvik's voice cracked. 3 seconds. Alara nodded. And in those 3 seconds, she said, we learned more than we have in 70 years. The distortion moved again. Closer. Closer to the cluster. Then tell me. Orvik said, his voice hollow. Tell me something useful. Alara didn't answer. One of the black uniformed humans did. His voice was tight. Controlled. It's not just reacting to expansion. Everyone looked at him. It changed course during the encounter, he continued. Not randomly. Not strategically. He hesitated. Deliberately. Toward what? Orvik asked. The human swallowed. Toward us. Silence. It knows we're watching, Alara said. And now, the officer added quietly. It's coming here. Every being in the chamber felt it at the same time. Not fear. Not panic. Something worse. Attention. They had stopped observing the unknown. And the unknown had started observing them back. Citadel Prime had never been silent before. Even during war, it had always been loud. Orders, alarms, movement. Now, nothing. Because the thing was coming. The distortion crossed the outer boundary of the 47 system cluster. No hesitation. No deviation. Planets disappeared. One by one. Evacuation fleets scattered in panic, but it didn't chase them. It didn't hunt ships. It didn't care about individuals. It only cared about something larger. Something structured. Population loss estimate. Orvik asked quietly. No one answered at first. Then a human analyst spoke. Projected. 11 billion within the next hour. Orvik closed his eyes. That number would have once meant war. Now it meant nothing. Because war implied a chance to fight back. This isn't war, he muttered. Alara Vance stood near the central console, watching the data scroll past. Her face was calm. Too calm. Director, Orvik said, stepping toward her. You said you had options. Alara didn't look at him. I said we had one. That wasn't reassuring. What is it? He pressed. Now she turned. And for the first time since he met her, there was something behind her eyes. Reluctance. There is a system, she said slowly, outside coalition space. Uncharted. Isolated. Orvik frowned. And we built something there, she continued. A pause. Something we never told the galaxy about. Of course you didn't, Orvik thought bitterly. What kind of weapon? He asked. Ilara's answer came quietly. Not a weapon. That made it worse. A correction. The room shifted. Explain, Orvik demanded. Ilara gestured to the display. A new schematic appeared. At first, it looked like nothing. Then Orvik realized what he was seeing. A star system. But not natural. Everything was aligned. Precise. Artificial. We call it the null lattice, Ilara said. The name alone felt wrong. It was designed to interact with space-time at a fundamental level, she continued. To stabilize or destabilize reality within a controlled region. Orvik's mind raced. You built something that can manipulate reality itself. Ilara didn't answer directly. We built something, she said, that can erase a region of space so completely. She paused. That even something like that cannot exist inside it. Silence. You're talking about deleting space, Orvik said slowly. Yes. A Zifferin representative floated backward in horror. That's madness. You would destroy entire systems. To save thousands more, Ilara cut in. The room erupted. You can't be serious. That's genocide. You'd become worse than the thing you're fighting. Ilara didn't raise her voice. If we do nothing, she said, we lose everything. That shut them up. Orvik stepped closer. And the cost? He asked quietly. Ilara met his gaze. The lattice doesn't just remove matter, she said. It removes causality. He didn't understand. Explain. If we activate it, she said, everything within the target zone will never have existed. Silence. No history. No memory. No record. She let that sink in. It won't be destruction, she finished. It will be correction. Orvik felt his stomach turn. You're talking about rewriting reality, he said. Yes. And you've never used this before? Ilara shook her head. We built it 52 years ago. And we buried it immediately. Why? This time? She hesitated. Because we realized something, she said. Orvik waited. We didn't know where the edge was. A cold silence followed. If we activated it, she continued, we couldn't guarantee it would stop. Orvik's eyes widened. You mean? Yes, Ilara said. It could keep spreading. Now even the bravest leaders stepped back. You built a weapon that could erase the galaxy, the Drail whispered. Ilara didn't correct him. We built a last resort, she said. The distortion advanced again. Another system flickered and vanished. Director, a human officer said urgently. Impact with the inner cluster in 14 minutes. Time had run out. Orvik looked at Ilara. If you use this, there's no going back. I know. And if you don't? Ilara looked at the disappearing stars. Then there won't be anything left to go back to. Silence. Finally, Orvik nodded. Do it, he said. One by one. The others followed. Not because they agreed, but because they had no choice. Ilara turned to her officers. Prepare the null lattice. Across the universe hesitated. That was the only way anyone later described it. Not slowed. Not frozen. Hesitated. Across thousands of light years, instruments failed. Clocks desynced. Signals looped. And at the center of it all, the null lattice came online. Stars aligned into impossible geometry. Energy didn't flow, it folded. Space didn't bend, it redefined itself. At Citadel Prime, every screen went white. Status. Orvik demanded. No answer. Even the humans looked shaken. Ilara, he said quietly. She stared at the display. It's active, she said. The distortion, the thing that had erased entire systems, stopped moving. For the first time, it reacted. It worked, someone whispered. No, Ilara said. Her voice was tight. It noticed. The white screens flickered, then stabilized. A new image appeared. Not the distortion. Something else. A shape. Vast. Impossible to fully comprehend. It wasn't a ship. It wasn't a structure. It was organized absence. Like something had carved a pattern into reality itself. Orvik felt his breath catch. What is that? He whispered. No one answered. Because they all understood the same thing at the same time. This wasn't the remnant. This was what the remnant had been watching. The distortion reappeared. Now smaller. Sharper. Focused. It moved. Not toward the cluster. But toward the null lattice. It's changing course, an analyst said. Not toward us, another added. Toward the lattice. Ilara's face went pale. No, she whispered. Orvik turned to her. What? Her voice dropped. We didn't stop it. A pause. We triggered it. The room went still. The distortion accelerated. faster than before. Not hunting, not cleaning, responding. Why would it react like this? Orvik demanded. Alara didn't answer, but one of the black uniformed humans did. His voice trembled. Because the lattice matches the signal. Silence. What signal? Orvik asked. The one from Sector V-88. Orvik's mind raced. You're saying? Yes, the human said. The same pattern. The same structure. The same signature. Orvik turned slowly toward Alara. You built something. His voice dropped. That looks like them. Alara didn't deny it. We didn't know, she said. But her voice lacked certainty. The massive shape on the screen shifted. And then, for the second time, the message appeared. Not through speakers. Not through translation. Directly. Inside every mind. Interference detected. The chamber froze. Containment breach risk. Elevated. Orvik's heart pounded. Containment? He whispered. The message continued. External civilizations identified. A pause. Then, unauthorized development confirmed. Every human in the room went still. Alara closed her eyes. No, she said softly. Orvik grabbed her arm. What does it mean? She looked at him. And for the first time, the truth came out. We weren't supposed to reach this level, she said. Silence. What? Orvik said. Alara's voice was barely above a whisper. The remnant isn't a weapon. The message pulsed again. Primary directive. Preserve structural integrity. It's a system, she said. A guardian system. The realization hit the room like a shockwave. It's not destroying civilizations, Orvik said slowly. It's pruning them, Alara finished. To stop them from going too far. The massive shape expanded, filling the display. Threat escalation, confirmed. Orvik's voice shook. Threat? Us. Alara nodded. Yes. Because of the lattice? Yes. Because we can rewrite reality? Alara didn't answer. She didn't need to. The message finished. Escalation protocol initiated. The distortion stopped. Completely. Then, it split. Into thousands. Every sensor in the galaxy lit up. They're everywhere, an analyst gasped. Every sector, every region. Not just here, another said. Across the entire galaxy. Orvik felt his knees weaken. This isn't containment, he whispered. Alara's voice was hollow. No. This is reset. Silence. Then Orvik asked the question no one wanted to say out loud. What were they containing? The room didn't answer. But the display did. For a brief moment. Just a fraction of a second. The massive shape shifted. And something behind it moved. Something vast. Something ancient. Something that made the remnant look small. Then it was gone. Orvik stumbled back. No, he whispered. Alara stared at the screen. And finally said the truth humanity had buried for decades. We weren't the first civilization to reach this point. A long pause. And we won't be the last. Outside, the stars flickered. Not one system. Not 12. Thousands. And for the first time in history, humanity didn't have a plan. The galaxy didn't burn. It didn't explode. It didn't scream. It began to quietly disappear. Stars dimmed across every sector. Not violently. Not chaotically. Systematically. Thousands of distortions spread like invisible cracks through reality. Each one precise. Each one deliberate. Civilizations didn't even have time to panic. One moment they existed. The next, they didn't. At Citadel Prime, no one spoke. There was nothing left to say. Commander Leth Orvik stared at the display as entire regions of space blinked out. This is it, he whispered. Not war. Not defeat. Erasure. Alara Vance stood motionless. Her eyes weren't on the destruction. They were on the data. Because something didn't add up. Wait, she said suddenly. Orvik turned. What? She stepped closer to the console, hands moving rapidly. Look at the pattern, she said. A map appeared. Points of disappearance. Lines between them. At first it looked random. Then Orvik saw it. It's drawing something, he said. Alara nodded. Yes. The erased systems weren't just gone. They were being removed in a shape. A structure. A boundary. The realization hit him. It's not destroying the galaxy, he said slowly. It's isolating something. Silence. Alara's voice dropped. Yes. And we're inside it. Every being in the chamber froze. The distortions weren't spreading outward randomly. They were forming a wall. A cage. Around a specific region of space. Around them. Orvik's throat went dry. You said this thing was a guardian, he said. Alara nodded slowly. Then what is it guarding against? The answer came from the display. For the third time, the message appeared. Containment failure, imminent. A pause. Then, core entity awakening. The room felt colder. Orvik whispered, core entity. The massive shape appeared again. Bigger now. Closer. But this time, it moved aside. Just slightly. And behind it, the galaxy didn't burn. It didn't explode. It didn't scream. It began to quietly disappear. Stars dimmed across every sector. Not violently. Not chaotically. Systematically. Thousands of distortions spread like invisible cracks through reality. Each one precise. Each one deliberate. Civilizations didn't even have time to panic. One moment they existed. The next, they didn't. At Citadel Prime, no one spoke. There was nothing left to say. Commander Leth Orvik stared at the display as entire regions of space blinked out. This is it, he whispered. Not war. Not defeat. Erasure. Alara Vance stood motionless. Her eyes weren't on the destruction. They were on the data. Because something didn't add up. Wait, she said suddenly. Orvik turned. What? She stepped closer to the console, hands moving rapidly. Look at the pattern, she said. A map appeared. Points of disappearance. Lines between them. At first it looked random. Then Orvik saw it. It's drawing something, he said. Alara nodded. Yes. The erased systems weren't just gone. They were being removed in a shape. A structure. A boundary. The realization hit him. It's not destroying the galaxy, he said slowly. It's isolating something. Silence. Alara's voice dropped. Yes. And we're inside it. Every being in the chamber froze. The distortions weren't spreading outward randomly. They were forming a wall. A cage. Around a specific region of space. Around them. Orvik's throat went dry. You said this thing was a guardian, he said. Alara nodded slowly. Then what is it guarding against? The answer came from the display. For the third time, the message appeared. Containment failure, imminent. A pause. Then, core entity awakening. The room felt colder. Orvik whispered, core entity. The massive shape appeared again. Bigger now. Closer. But this time, it moved aside. Just slightly. And behind it. Run. No. Hide. No. Silence. Then what's left? He demanded. Alara looked at the null lattice. At the one thing humans had built. That matched the signal. The only reason it noticed us, she said. Orvik followed her gaze. The lattice. She nodded. We crossed the line. A long pause. Then we stepped back, Orvik said. Alara looked at him. And for the first time, there was something like hope. Maybe, she said. He frowned. Maybe. We don't know if it will accept that, she admitted. The distortions reached the outer edge of Citadel Prime. Reality flickered. Systems failed. Screams echoed through distant channels. No more time. Alara took a breath, then gave the final order. Deactivate the null lattice. Across the galaxy, the artificial system began to shut down. Stars moved out of alignment. Energy collapsed. The impossible structure unraveled. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, everything stopped. The distortions froze. The presence paused. Silence. Long. Heavy. Waiting. Then, the message came one last time. Deviation reduced. A pause. Stability restored. The presence withdrew. Reality sealed. The massive guardian shape reformed. And then, it was gone. The distortions vanished. The erased systems did not return. But the rest remained. The galaxy had survived. Barely. Days later, Citadel Prime stood quiet once more. Damaged. Changed. But alive. Orvik stood beside Alara, looking out at the stars. Fewer than before. But still there. You were right, he said quietly. Alara didn't respond. We're not the strongest, he continued. A pause. We're not even close. Alara gave a small, tired smile. No, she said. Orvik looked at her. Then what are we? She thought for a long moment. Then answered. We're allowed. Silence. As long as we remember our limits, she added. Far away. In the darkness between galaxies. Something ancient watched. Not with anger.